Hey there, beautiful. I'm Conco Clem, and welcome to the very first vlog that I'm going to do about therapy. Okay, so the week before last, which is the week before Thanksgiving week, we were talking about change because that week specifically, some groups got switched around. Now, by the way, let me just explain this again. In my therapy, there are 3 different rooms called groups, and then there are different sessions. There are 4 sessions with 4 different therapists that talk kind of about like a same topic but in different ways. Now, I got 2 papers here that I did whenever we were there. I'm not entirely sure how they have to do with change, but I'll show them. The first one I have here is this. I'm not sure. White paper might be overexposed if you can really see it. Basically, this is supposed to be like a little shack, which is supposed to represent like the back of your mind, like your deep, dark secrets. Well, not necessarily dark, but it's like in your core, like things that you believe. Now, of course, at the very top, I have strong moral convictions. Now, I don't feel very strongly about a lot of things, but morally speaking, there are just certain things that I believe very strongly. I'm not going to go into it. I don't want it to accidentally go into a political discussion, so I'm not going to go into that, but that's something I have. And the second one, I regret not being able to save my second relationship. And that was years ago. My second relationship was years ago, but it's still like one of my biggest regrets in my entire life, because even after 2 other relationships after that and years, I don't necessarily want to say I'm in love with her, because I was in love with other people after her, but I still think about her a lot. And even taking into consideration all the bad things that happened in a relationship, I still feel for her. You know, I don't know. I'm pretty sure she doesn't feel the same about me. She has a boyfriend and all that, so that's it's a weird discussion, but, you know, well, especially after I went through a breakup not too long ago. That's been kind of hard for me recently, thinking about that, but I can't help it. There's a lot of things that I wasn't aware about myself or just in general during my second relationship, and I feel like if what I know now I knew then, I probably could have done it, but, you know, I was younger and a lot less self-aware, so a lot of issues happened there. But whatever, let me move on from that. Another paper I got was this one. Again, I'm probably going to take a picture and then just superimpose it later because it's too bright here. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Basically, you were supposed to select like a certain emotion that you feel. Like me, I put anxious. I have anxiety problems, but mainly it's social anxiety is the one that gets to me. Again, I've been getting better at dealing with it, but it's still like one of my main issues. Whenever I am anxious, I think about escape routes, because whenever I start getting really nervous in social situations, I always look for ways to leave. You know, where's the exit? How can I get out if I need to? Possible weapons. This is a little weird. I spent some time in martial arts, a little over 4 years. So, you know, I was trained to have like situational awareness, of just be aware of everything. But because I specifically have social anxiety, I'm like super focused on like, what could I use to protect myself? Like, I see like a chair, someone attacks me, I could smash them with the chair, stuff like that. And possible threats. Again, maybe I'm in a certain gathering and there's like really big guys or people that they don't look nice. And another thing, I think about everyone in the room. Basically, be aware of everyone that's in a room, which honestly, it's not a bad thing. It's being like driven, especially because of my social anxiety. Now, I feel a lot of things in my body. I feel cold, hot, tingling, itching, adrenaline, and some other things maybe in different situations. Cold and hot at the same time. Like, have you ever been sick and like you're shivering and it's like you feel cold in your core or something, but you feel hot? It's kind of like that, but less extreme. Tingling, itching, like up in the neck and on the face area, especially if it's like getting really bad. I get like this itchiness and adrenaline. Yeah, my heart's pumping. This is basically like the fight or flight. That's how I feel because of my anxiety. Honestly, this is kind of like a difference between being shy and having like social anxiety, because you can be shy, like, I don't feel like getting up in front of people, but you have like actual anxiety issues. It's a much more intense feeling, and I've had that most of my life. I just didn't understand it, and I behave this way. Distant, I'm not very interactive with people. I put stoic, I'm not even sure if that's spelled right, because, I try to be like, I'm trying to look kind of a little more confident than I feel, just to not try and draw attention, because, if I kind of look like, if I look paranoid, or if I look anxious, I feel like it'll draw attention to me, so I try to act opposite to that, even though I feel very, crazy almost. Funny, sometimes in certain situations where I'm around a lot of other people and they're all interacting, even though I'm trying to act, not super involved, I'll like tell jokes or something, because one of the things I do is I try to, if I'm feeling very bad and I'm around other people, I'll hide it with comedy or just making a joke about something. Anxious, sometimes if it's really, really bad and I can't hide it anymore, I've been in that situation, then I'll act really bad. I remember at a homecoming dance with my second girlfriend, actually, we were in the gym, and I was sitting by the wall with my friend Jessie, and she, like, a song came on or something, and she like tried picking me up and pulling me to the dance floor, and she's like, oh, come on. And I'm like, I don't want to. And she's like, oh, come on. And I freaked out. I remember this so vividly. She was pulling me, and I just pulled my hands out of her hands. And by the way, she's tall and she's big, she's strong. Definitely out of all the girlfriends I've had, she's definitely the strongest. So she was pulling me, and I started freaking out. Like, I didn't know back then. This was years ago. I wasn't like aware, oh hey, I have social anxiety. I didn't understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And I pulled away, and I just threw my hands up, and I just looked down, and she's like, okay. And then she just kind of came up to me, and then I guess we kind of started like slow dancing, and I kind of put my head behind hers, and I just started crying. I was crying, and I just felt bad, because I know she wanted to go out and dance, and I wanted her to do that, but she was pulling me, and it just made me feel anxious. I don't know if it was like an anxiety attack or what, but I freaked out. I didn't know why. I'm sure she didn't know why, and I felt so bad about it, and I cried, and I didn't recover from that for the rest of the dance, and I felt bad. I was very self-conscious about it. It's like I didn't want to make her feel bad, but I really feel like I did. So that's one thing. Okay, getting back to the other stuff. Leg bobbing. If I'm sitting down and I'm feeling anxious, I'll bob my leg. Some people say jiggling the leg, but I say bobbing. And jittery, like I'll like twiddle my thumbs, or like if my hands are on the table, I'll like do like that. Not that loud, but just so the mic can pick it up. I get jittery. That entire week was talking about change and like handling your emotions whenever you experience change. Those these two papers, I'm not entirely sure how they relate to it. Okay, now I'm going to talk about this past week, and this was the week of Thanksgiving. The theme of last week was emotional regulation, how to become aware of your emotions and how to handle them and regulate them so you can have basically better control over your emotions and how they affect you. One of the therapists, her main topic that she was talking about for this week's focus was something called opposite action. Whenever you have an emotional reaction to something, like say you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling anxious, or angry, an emotion that's leading you to want to do some kind of negative behavior, like if you're feeling depressed or lonely, you feel so out of energy, and what you want to do is you just want to lie down, you want to isolate yourself, you don't want to do anything, you basically want to just become a zombie and isolate yourself. Obviously, that's not a good thing to do, especially if you're feeling depressed or lonely. And I'm very guilty of that. Basically, the whole idea of opposite action is instead of doing what your first instinct is, what your emotion is making you want to do, which is bad for you, you do the opposite. Instead of doing the negative thing that will just indulge in your negative feeling, that you want to do the opposite and bring you out of it. Don't just lie in bed and isolate yourself and not do anything, not interact with people. If you can, meet up with friends or go out, talk to people. Basically, just don't isolate yourself, because that's indulging in a negative feeling. It's just going to make you go down. You're basically digging yourself in a deeper hole. Or like if you're really angry, like someone does something, you lash out at them. You want to yell at them and scream at them. Some people might even hit them or throw something or break something or hurt yourself. You don't do that because you're angry and you just want to be angry. You're indulging in that, and it's not going to make you feel better, because you'll be like, oh man, I shouldn't have lashed out at them. I shouldn't have yelled at them. I shouldn't have hit them. I shouldn't have taken my anger out on them. Basically, that's the whole idea of that. And instead of just getting mad at someone, just calm down. Just explain, hey, what you did made me very upset. Can you please try to not do it again, and just be calm? And basically, the more you do that, it becomes easier, because it's kind of like building a habit. If you do a bad habit over and over and over, it will really cement itself into you. For example, drinking, smoking, even if it's not that, it could be like biting your nails. That could be a bad habit. If you just keep doing it and over, you'll just want to keep doing it. But if you say, no, I'm not just going to indulge in negative behavior, I'm going to try and think more objectively and think, what should I do? What's the right thing to do to make me feel better and to just handle the situation right? If you do that more and more, it becomes easier. That's the whole idea of opposite action, and that comes from something called rational mind and emotion mind. I'm not sure. This is on my phone. I drew this on my phone so I could just throw that up on the screen eventually. This is kind of like left brain, right brain, if you know what I'm talking about. Emotional mind, that's where your emotions happen. You have some kind of self-talk, this belief, and something happens and you experience an emotion. You feel a certain way. Basically where most people will default to, because it's easier to just feel a certain way about something and just go with your first instinctual feeling instead of rationally thinking about something after something happens, and then acting accordingly. And, well, rational mind is basically the opposite of emotional mind. And then there's something called wise mind. It's basically where the two work together, where rationally you think objectively, you think pragmatically, you just think facts. An emotional mind is where you consider your feelings and other people's feelings. And when those two things work together, that's where you can make good decisions, basically. Acting on or expressing this emotion effectively. That's what the wise mind is doing. Should I express my emotion? Should I act on it? Should I do this? Or how should I do it? Basically, that's what the wise mind is. One of the other therapists we had, he talked about something very similar. There's the thought and emotion pyramid worksheet. This, which I'm probably not going to take a picture because I drew it on my phone. Whoops, like I did the last one. And, okay, by the way, let me just give you some facts. This was made by Albert Ellis. He developed what's known as REBT, which is Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy. This goes in a little more detail than what the other therapist talks about. This basically describes the whole, like, how you feel emotions. There's an activating event. There's something that happens that will eventually cause you to feel a certain way. Like, for example, your girlfriend broke up with you. That's the activating event. It's almost like a general consensus amongst most people in the population that an event will cause you to feel a certain way. And that's the immediate reaction. But that's not actually true. And this might be a little hard to believe because even I was like, is that really how it works? But it makes sense when you really think about it. You can see there's an X. The activating event doesn't instantly cause an emotion. There has to be some kind of reasoning. Even if it's subconscious and you're not aware of it. Instead, it goes to self-talk, which is your beliefs. By the way, this is called ABCDE, which is why it's activating event, beliefs, consequences, dispute, and evaluate. Okay, just saying that. Self-talk. That's basically whenever something happens, what are you telling yourself about the situation? And that makes you feel a certain way. That's how that works. And here's the reason why a lot of people don't think that's how it works. It happens like that, quickly, because believe it or not, the human mind is very powerful and it can work really, really fast. Your girlfriend or boyfriend breaks up with you. Your immediate reaction is probably going to be negative unless you didn't like them, but you know, that's another situation. Say you really loved them and they broke up with you. What will you tell yourself? Personally, what I think my immediate, possibly subconscious thought about that would be, she doesn't love me. She doesn't want to be with me. And it can vary in different things. She doesn't want to be with me. She doesn't love me. I'm not worth being with. I'm not worth the effort to fix the relationship. No one's going to ever want me. You know, very obviously not very rational thoughts. But because it happens so fast, that all just happens like quickly and almost subconsciously. It just happens, and then I feel like shit. I feel lonely. At that time, I could feel depressed, you know, especially after my last breakup. I've just been feeling pretty depressed after that. So that's what happens, and that's what the consequences are. The consequences is what you're feeling, what your emotions are. The dispute and the evaluate, the D and the E of the ABCDE thing, that's kind of where opposite action comes into play, and that's how these two things kind of correlate. They didn't plan that. It just kind of happened to work out that way. What you do is you dispute the original thought, basically. You think about it. You think, okay, is this rational? Is this logical? Is this realistic? She doesn't love me. That's probably not true. She probably does love me. It's just there's other reasons for her wanting to end the relationship. I'm not worth the effort of trying to fix it. That's probably not true. She just probably isn't willing to put in the effort, or maybe she has some other reasoning for not wanting to. No one will ever want me again. Probably not true, hopefully not true, but that's basically what that is. You dispute it. You try to figure out what your original self-talk is, and you try to dispute it. Now, sometimes maybe your original self-talk can be true. For example, in a different situation, someone cuts you off in traffic. Maybe one of the things you tell yourself immediately is, this person has no respect for me. That might be true. It might be true that that person is not respecting, like, your safety or anyone else's safety. But another thing you can say is, whenever something happens, you think about two things. What does this mean to me, and what does this mean about me? That's like the two areas of self-talk. What did this mean to me? It means this person doesn't have respect for me. Okay, that might be true. What does this mean about me? That I am not worth being respected, I am not respectable. That can be disputed, because that's probably not true. That's something that you can dispute to hopefully feel better. Now, you still might be angry, of course. That's completely reasonable. Someone put you in danger, possibly. But just don't, like, be so angry that you follow them home and then kill them. That's not reasonable. And then the E part is evaluate. Evaluate how you should change your behavior, or what you should do to try and change your emotion, how you should handle it, how you should express it, and then what you should do after the fact. You know, the activating event happened, you've disputed your original self-talk, your original beliefs, and then you need to evaluate and come to a decision of what you should do. That's the E part. Some people, they have this irrational thought called permission given. That's something a lot of people will do. Oh, well, something bad happened, so I have permission to act like an asshole. That's just like an example. No, that's not true. You should still try to dispute your original self-talk and evaluate how to properly handle your emotions so you don't behave negatively. That's something you should do. Like, it puts into a graphic and an easier to understand way of, like, that entire ideology. So I'm definitely going to be trying to use this from now on. I'm basically done with this video. Tell me if you want more of this, or like how I could improve this maybe. And after this next week, whatever the topic is, I'll probably make a video about that, and maybe it'll be a little more concise because it won't be 2 weeks, it'll only be 1, so it can be shorter. But I'm done with this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see your beautiful faces the next time you see mine. Bye.